Nate Dogg, let's get right into it. It is Rory and Scottie and Rory, and that's the story for this year. And if one of those two guys doesn't win, the betting markets will be pretty happy, I think. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. Nate Dogg, why wouldn't Rory or Scottie win this year's Masters?
Well, in Scottie's case, it is because he has not been playing his best golf, and he has strung, as J. Ray will tell us, he's strung a lot of good together, an occasional great in parts of the game, but he hadn't won a golf tournament yet, and that is very different than rolling in a year ago. And in particular, Scottie, his last time out in Houston, he put those greens great, but the ball striking was not as exceptional as it's been leading up to Houston. I think we might have said the putter was starting to revert to the mean from where it started to take off really a year ago around the Players or API. So for Scottie, I think that's what it comes down to. Is his game really in the shape that you'd want it to be? He has shown us a lot of frustration, and that tells me that coming off that hand injury, maybe off the extended period of rest, and also just freaking golf is hard. And it's hard to sustain that level of winning. It's not hard for Scottie to sustain excellence because he has still been excellent. But that level of winning, it just may be that his game isn't as sharp as it's ever been. Rory's game is as sharp as it's ever been. And from an all-around perspective, a lot of people, J. Ray, again, will tell us statistically where that really lines up. But from an all-around perspective, the wins that he's had this year, in particular at the Players, where other parts of the game weren't perfect, but he did power his way through, both in using other parts of his game, but also in using his mind. And look, there were parts coming down the stretch at the Players where you felt like Rory was pooping it away once again. But the reason he would not win this tournament is the reason he has not won at St. Andrews. Last year at the U.S. Open, it's been between the ears. And so those are really the only two reasons I think that could get in the way from either of these guys winning.
Justin Ray, I sat down and tried to do it old school. I did my pros and my cons. I want to see how my pros and cons for each guy line up with what you're going to share with us. Let's go ahead and start with Scottie. He is defending. He's prepared to try and defend his title. We haven't had a repeat champion since Tiger in the early 2000s. But this is a second go around for him. He knows what it feels like to be a defending champion and what it feels like to come on in. I have some other pros here, but I want you to go ahead and give us a little bit of a breakdown.
Yeah, no, I'm right with Nate in terms of the kind of misgivings you might have about Scottie going into the week compared to last year or 3 years ago when he won. He's about half a stroke in terms of strokes gained total, gaining less than half a stroke. It's half a stroke less than he was last year going into this. He's around 15th on tour in greens and regulation, which is still excellent, but it's not first, which is where he's basically, parked and camped out for the last 3 seasons on tour. I like what you said about, the way he putted at Houston in his last start out. The thing that doesn't get talked about with Scottie a lot is that the secret sauce from around Augusta National, he strikes the ball great. He's putted above average. He leads the world in strokes gained around the green the last 3 years at this place. So there's an element of kind of underestimated balance to Scottie's greatness around this place that I think we need to fully take into account. I'm not too worried that he hasn't broken through with a victory yet this season. I mean, you've seen flashes of the really good play in spurts in Houston and other places. It's really hard to win golf tournaments out here, especially when Rory McIlroy is playing the way he is. You look at Scottie's performance at the Masters since 2020, his debut. He's 32 under par, 11 shots better than anybody else. I'm still bullish on Scottie Scheffler this week. I mean, it's really hard to win the Masters back-to-back. Only 3 guys have ever done it, and this is the 89th Masters all time. But what Scottie's done to begin his Masters career is historic, winning 2 of your first 5 starts. The only guy to get there faster was Horton Smith, and he won 2 of the first 3 that were ever played, so it's hard to even compare the beginnings of those 2 careers at Augusta National. I'm bullish on him. I'm bullish on him this week. I think that, look, he's got to be even money for a top 10 finish, I would imagine. And I would lean on the side of yes, just based on what he's been able to do. You get to Rory, and I really love this number about Rory McIlroy. You talked about how other parts of his game are really, coming together, and it's not just the driver. He's still a brilliant driver of the golf ball, one of the best in the world, 2 or 3 best on the planet for my money. But you look at the percentage of his strokes gained total this season compared to last when it comes to off the tee. This season, he's getting about 37% of his strokes gained total with his driver. Last year, that number was 51%. 10 years ago, that number was over 60%. It was the most dominant club in his bag, and now you see what he's able to do around the green and on the green, and now he's getting more than 25% of his strokes gained with his putting. That's more than double what he had a year ago coming in here. I know between the ears, we talk about it, there's ways to quantify getting close over and over again. The last 10 years, Rory has 21 top 10 finishes in majors, just a ridiculous number. The most ever in a 10-year span for any men's player without a win. I think the second was Lloyd Mangrum a couple of times in the 40s and 50s. So, I mean, so close, so often. You mentioned it between the ears, but look, this is the first time that Rory's headed to the Masters with multiple wins on U.S. soil in a season, which I thought was pretty remarkable. He had never done that before. He's won in the Middle East and in the United States going into the Masters. The only time he's ever done it, twice on U.S. soil. You got to think that confidence is there. And, I mean, I don't know. Maybe does the burden get lesser as time goes on, or what is it? I mean, this is his 17th start at the Masters. I mean, the only one guy in the history of the tournament has won his first Masters title and starts 17 or later, and that was Sergio Garcia doing it in his 19th.
Yeah, it's really the narrative that's going to carry the whole year and season, I think, is can Rory come back from just the devastating loss last year at Pinehurst? House, it may be that the only thing that gets in the way of Scheffler is the meat. And by that, I mean, we're serving Texas-style chili. We're serving Papa Chef's meatballs. You and I are headed down there tomorrow. We're talking about packing in our own dry-aged ribeye if Mr. Chang will let us. So I don't. It may just be the food poisoning that gets in the way of Scheffler, but Rory, it's going to be between the ears, don't you think?
Yes, for sure. Now, look, I do want to ask this because the weather report is interesting. It's going to be cool all week. The only day that's in the 70s is Thursday. It's going to be a spectacular day, like a prime Masters. Everybody's going to turn on their TV Thursday evening. It's going to be showing out the clay. There will be no clouds in the sky. It's just going to be magnificent. But the rest of the week, the highs are all under 70. And the only day it looks like there's any precipitation possible is the first part of Friday morning, and the wind is negligible. I mean, there's only one day with wind forecasted at 10 miles an hour. So I think what Immelman reported in terms of this firm and fast condition could be the prevailing dynamic for this golf course. And what I want to know as we sort of get into this, and especially let's layer it on with Scottie and Rory, I think it's going to be firm and fast. And I think it will be as firm and fast as the great green jacket decision makers down there decide to make it, JR. Does that sort of, how's that factor into the handicap?
A little bit. I've learned since the inception of the Augusta National Women's Amateur to not take a whole lot from what I see, but like human nature is, wow, they're really getting close to a lot of these pins watching the hottest players that week in that event, fire at flags and take advantage of a lot of opportunities. I don't know how much it impacts how I would forecast who's going to be successful. It may. What I would say is, I've told you this before to you guys. It won't let me add names to the list, but maybe one or two I'll cross off if the weather is like that, as you say. Fair
enough. And we don't think it matters to Rory or Scottie, right?
No, yeah. Not at the top of the game. No, not necessarily. I don't think it's a big impact.